Presents the headlines, the stories, the news, in-depth analysis of national current affairs. Freshly pressed on Smooth 98.1.
Love, love music, love life. It's a Bill's date this morning on Freshly Pressed, and for context, you'd have to stay tuned to find out. Welcome to the show that dissects and discusses in details the top stories from the Nigerian dailies right here on Smooth 98.1. It's a part of Smooth Breakfast, and 7:30 every weekday is the time we get to do this. Thank you for joining us, and you can even be a part of this discussion. 0809 444 0981. Again, 0809 444 0981 is a number for you to send your messages to, as well as whatever contribution you have. Now, you can join us on YouTube, where we're currently streaming live at Smooth 981 FM Lagos. At Smooth 981 FM Lagos. My name is Oluwaseun. I do have with me in the studio Gbubemi Atimomo. Good morning.
Good morning, Oluwaseun. Good morning, Lagos. Good morning, Mr. C.
And Mr. C joining us virtually because it's a Thursday and we appreciate both of your presence. Good morning, Mr. C.
Good morning, Oluwaseun. Good morning, Gbubemi. Good morning, Lagos.
All right, so let's get right into the bills, the many ones we have to go through this morning. And we'll start with this one from The Guardian. The House of Representatives approved bill to increase Lagos State's local government areas to 57 from 20.
Okay, thank you, Oluwaseun. So this is an event that started at least more than 25 years ago. So this happened during the term of the current president when he was the then governor of Lagos State. And he started the creation of additional local government areas as provided for under Section 8, I believe, of the Constitution. However, that process was never completed because the then president was against it, and he never got the approval of the National Assembly to get the additional local governments incorporated into the Constitution. Now, for the benefit of our listeners, we have 774 local government areas, and they are all clearly stated and identified in the Constitution. Now, if you want to have additional local government areas, you have to go through the process, and I think both chambers of the National Assembly have to approve it. Now, so this is where we're at the moment, and the 37 local community development associations, which I will describe as the inchoate local government areas, sought to be created during the tenure of Mr. Tinubu as governor of Lagos State. The National Assembly now wants to complete that process, seeing as he is the president of the country. Now, this is very instructive because we're about to open Pandora's box, literally. Because once this is done for Lagos State, you can be rest assured there will be a deluge of states looking to increase the local government areas within their jurisdictions. Now, for me, it's not really, the question is not really how many local government councils we have, because the politicians will always tell you it's one of the indices used in calculating how much is due to a state every month from the Federal Allocation Accounts Committee. The bigger question here, which is not being addressed, is declining and decreasing productivity on a consistent basis. So for all the political class can increase the number of local government areas per state to 1,000, it still doesn't address the issue of productivity. It still doesn't address the issue of waste. It still doesn't address the issue of impunity. Now, I would have thought that the House of Representatives would be a bit more serious and a bit more occupied with more pressing issues. How increasing the total count of local government areas in Lagos State from, I think, 23 to 57
20.
beats my imagination. Because how does this increase trickle down to the ordinary Lagosian male and female? How does it make life, the average life of the Lagos resident, better? In Lagos State today, there is a problem with a near absence of pipe-borne water. Many times you open your taps, and unless you have a borehole or you've filled your tank with water you bought commercially, water doesn't come out. Like I said the other time, we have parts of the state ravaged with refuse heaps. So I'm not sure this is the most pressing issue Lagos State needs to address, or which the House of Representatives need to address. There are more pressing issues for them, but of course, this is Nigeria, this is politics, and this is what we've been served. So we move on, because this will be passed. But ultimately, how does this benefit Nigerians? Because the local government system as a whole has its doubts, and I'm not sure many Nigerians will testify to the wonderful benefits they should be getting from the local government system of governance.
We move on to another one about bill, and this is coming from Business Day. A bill seeking to amend the 1999 Constitution to transfer control of natural resources, including oil fields, minerals, and natural gas, from the federal government to states, has scaled second reading in the House of Representatives. Gbubemi.
This bill was sponsored by the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Tajuddin Abbas. And incidentally, a similar bill had been sponsored in 2016, but it didn't pass the second reading. Now, what they are proposing to do, the current state of things is that all of these mineral resources, gas and all of that, the revenue goes to the federal government, and then some states earn a 13% derivation. This is operative with oil, for example. So, for example, the oil-producing states of the Niger Delta all earn a 13% derivation from the revenue of those resources. What this bill seeks to do is to transfer the rights for the management's ability to make laws, determine the revenue and all of that for these resources to the states. So it would move from the exclusive legislative list to the concurrent legislative list, so that both the states and the federal government can, have a say on what happens to these resources. I think this is the way to go. Many of the oil, particularly all of the oil producing states, have always been screaming, that they should have a stronger, a stronger voice regarding what happens with their resources. And if we say we're in a federal system, really, that's supposed to be the way to go. But there've always been frustrations and challenges, because people will see it sort of as a weakening of the federal government, because majority of our income comes from the federal government. There've also been arguments that some states would be disadvantaged economically because the oil producing states, because they produce the most income at this point in time, will end up benefiting more from this. In my opinion, that's sort of a short-sighted view, and every time people have said this kind of things, I've always wondered, oil is generating revenue today. Who says sand, sun, wind, water can't generate revenue tomorrow? These are the sort of things that have, in my mind, blocked the thinking of many of the of the governors of states that do not produce oil from looking internally as to how else they can raise revenue. Lots of people have just looked easily at oil. It's quick wins, you can get money from that. But there are other things that can raise revenue as well. So I don't necessarily think that if approved, at the end of the day, this would be a threat to non-oil producing states. The bill would have to go to committee reading, and if it scales at a third reading at the Senate, at the House of Reps, and then move to the Senate for concurrence. But it must also be approved by 2/3 of the state houses of assembly before it can go into law. And that is potentially where I see a challenge, because, we've already cited the challenges many of the non-oil producing states have stated. I see also that many of them will still challenge this. And the likelihood of this becoming law, in my opinion, is probably quite slim. Yeah, so that's just how I see it. Let's see how far it goes. Like I said, it was raised in 2016. It's been raised now again. Let's see how far it goes.
Okay, so let me quickly jump in on this, right? I agree with what Gbubemi has said, but given the way the Nigerian state has been moving recently, I do not see the northern states agreeing to this. Because when you take out crude oil, what else, what other substance or mineral resource brings in substantial revenue? So if we then say that the mineral resources should go to states where they're derived from, that means you leave the bulk of the North in very dire straits. I don't see this happening. And that's the gospel truth. The same way it failed in 2016, it will fail again.
Join the conversation and send your messages to 0809-444-0981. Again, 0809-444-0981. And you can join us on YouTube at Smooth 981 FM Lagos. On WhatsApp, Mr. Ajayi Olonilua says, good morning. It's a cheering news that the National Assembly is considering legalizing the 37 LCDAs in Lagos as full-fledged local governments. But this must also be done for the various states that have also found the need to increase the local governments in their states. And the bill to transfer the control of natural resources from the federal government to the states is another move in the right direction, especially on our clamor for true fiscal federalism. All right, we go on. The House of Representatives is still busy, and this time they're passing a bill to remove the immunity conferred on the vice president, governors, and their deputies. Mr. C.
Okay, thank you very much, Joe. So obviously the House of Representatives was quite busy yesterday, but here's the thing, right? You can imagine a man sitting on a rocking chair and he's rocking back and forth. There's a lot of motion, but there's no movement. Now, they want to strip the vice presidents, governors, deputies of immunity, of their constitutionally provided immunity, but want to leave the president with immunity. Why? Why is the president singled out and still protected? More importantly, the truth of the matter is, again, we're not a serious country, and anyone who doesn't like it, you'll be all right this morning. There is a particular governor in the southwest of that, former governor from one of the southwestern states. He left office in 2007. Oluwaseun, that was 18 years ago. He was arraigned in court allegedly on charges of corruption, stealing, and the like. Oluwaseun, 18 years later, they have not secured a judgment in the first court of instance, that is a trial court. His matter is still in court. There are a number of them whose matters are still in court. They left office in 2007. Did they have immunity in 2007? Why are we unable to secure convictions against them? And I think the real issue here is whether you strip them of their immunity or not, those who are going to be corrupt will be corrupt. Those who will be badly behaved will be badly behaved. What we need to do is strengthen our institutions, strengthen our processes, strengthen our procedures. Now you have political office holders who supposedly or presumably declare their assets and nobody knows what they've declared. Now, when the drafters of the Constitution put in the immunity clauses, there was a reason those immunity clauses were put in there. It was to prevent and protect the holders from being distracted by frivolous suits. Now, in Nigeria, there is no statute of limitation for criminal offenses, meaning no matter how long it takes, 10, 15 years later, you can be charged with any criminal offense. Now, why would you seek to distract political office holders whilst they're in office? I see the mischief being sought to be cured. I'm not sure this will change anything because the mindset of the average Nigerian politician today is, I can do whatever I like. When I'm arraigned, I will secure bail. I will get my people to give me a thunderous and glad hero's welcome, and all will be well. We're not addressing the real issues. Strengthen your institutions, strengthen the police, strengthen the EFCC, strengthen the ICPC, that they're completely independent of the executive in all forms and manners. And we will then see some improvement. Then you clean out the judiciary, remove all the people who should not be on the bench. But all of these are cosmetic measures. Nothing will change in real time.
Let's move over to the Vanguard. Panic As the sole administrator of River State's Vice Admiral Ibokite Ibas has directed local governments to submit two-year financial reports. Gbubemi.
So the new administrator of River State has directed that the heads of the local governments submit some information, and apparently looks like he gave them 48 hours to submit that information. Basically, the content of the information is for them to declare the sources of their revenue generation, ongoing activities of the council and their ongoing and completed projects of the council, the activities of the council, and also for them to note the challenges that they've faced and also include recommendations on how those challenges can be managed or solved. Rivers has been in the news a lot. These heads of the local government agencies came in after the cancellation of the local government election. I'm aware that they were also preparing to have another one. So there's some sort of political undertone, to this presentation of the report. So when it says panic, I'm thinking you've not even been asked to produce detailed reports yet. So what is the panic all about? But I guess my assumption is that, ideally there should be a request for more detailed information subsequently after this preliminary information is revealed. So is it a case of the fact that some of these heads of the LGAs have been eating fat off the resources of the local government and they're afraid that their impunities will be discovered, or what exactly is the panic all about? I'm really not sure. But we wait and see anyway, because like I said, the information provided is more like a headline. You've not been asked to produce things like budgets or expenses and things in detail, audited accounts and stuff like that. So, well, wait and see.
Yep, he that is down needs fear no fall. From the Daily Post, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Kudirat Kekeriekun, on Wednesday took a critical look into the practice of law in the country and lamented the downturn in adherence to ethical principles in the legal profession. Well, Mr. C, this is your turf.
Yes, it is. Thank you, Oluwaseun. So on Wednesday, the CGN was speaking at the public presentation of the report of the directions of the Legal Practitioners Disciplinary Committee at the Body of Benches Complex. Now, the Legal Practitioners Disciplinary Committee is a committee of the body that disciplines or sanctions erring legal practitioners in Nigeria. Now, she did speak about the rising level of unethical conduct amongst Nigerian lawyers, and she's correct, because for a while now, there have been concerns amongst stakeholders in the legal profession as to the consistently decreasing quality and behavior of legal practitioners. And yes, the legal practitioners are partly to blame for all of this, because standards have fallen, as standards in the larger Nigerian society have also fallen. And that is evident in the number of ridiculous cases you see being filed in multiple divisions of, say, the Federal High Court or the Court of Appeal. And it really begs a question, because in the 50s, the 60s, I dare say even up to the 90s or the early 2000s, the legal profession was really meant for gentlemen, and you would only find gentlemen, men of integrity and trustworthy guys in the profession. But today you find all sorts and shades of characters who are lawyers. And it then begs the question, how did this happen? But what the CGN failed to also touch is lawyers will only misbehave for as long as the judges will permit them to misbehave. If all the judges were on the up and honest, and they were fully in charge of their courtrooms and fully committed to upholding the high standards of the legal profession, the unethical lawyers will be quickly cut down to size and will realize that there is no room for bad behavior. So it's a two-way street. The body of benchers will address, hopefully, the falling ethical standards within the legal profession, maybe sanction a few bad eggs, and hope that the rot will be stemmed. However, the CGN also has to look at the bar, at the bench. not every judicial officer today is well behaved, is honest, and has integrity. And it's really sad. So if we want to save the legal profession, and I believe she's been honest, she's been a respected judge right from her days in the Lagos State High Court. It has to be a concerted effort from both the bar and the bench. You cannot only focus on the bar as if the bar is the entire source of all the problems bedeviling the legal profession. Part of the problems also stem from the bench. And I do hope at some point, maybe when the judges have their annual conference, she'll be bold enough to look her colleagues in the face and tell them some bitter home truth about their conduct and how they need to step up their own game.
Thank you. We'll take some messages now, and you can send yours to 0809-444-0981. I have Don Kelvin, I suppose, but she said, unfortunately, the issue of removal of immunity is a distraction by the Senate from the real issues happening in the country. Where same Senate isn't acting, the aberration of instituting a state of emergency in Rivers being put to voice votes rather than two-thirds, the push to recall Senator Natasha, several other issues. Good morning, everyone. More local governments for Lagos State is a good one. Creation of jobs through additional administrative roles. The rapid population growth in Lagos State necessitates an increase in local governments. Lagos receives the highest daily influx of people in Nigeria. More local governments create greater opportunities for citizen participation in governance. Those who criticize now have the chance to start from the grassroots and contest for local government chairman positions. Smaller administrative units enhance local government's ability to effectively represent resident interests. Mr. C?
I think first of all, we need to correct the impression that new local governments are being created. No, they're just completing the process that was started in the 90s. These governments, these additional governments are already existing in the form and guise of the LCDAs. So it's just a completion of the legal process. In fact, in reality, they already exist. So I think it's rather disingenuous that anyone will call in and tell me to run for a local government office. I believe I've reached the age in the point in my life where I know what I need to do and what I should not be doing, right? And if I wanted to run for a local government election, I would do that. So what I'm basically saying is don't offer me unsolicited advice. If you think you have what it takes to function effectively at the LCDA level or the local government level, by all means, make yourself happy.
All right, we go further with the messages. And Sunday from Surulere says, I wonder what would happen when detailed reports are requested. Accountability is a major issue at arguably all levels of leadership in this country. Chop, make I chop. Rexy from Surulere says, news item. The National Assembly passed a bill to strengthen institutions like INEC, the police, EFCC. Mr. C, this is a waste of time. Who are those that will strengthen these institutions? Are they Nigerians? We know how Nigerians, especially those who support APC and this government are. This cannot work, and I am not optimistic. I wonder what Mr. C ever did to Rexy. And moving on.
Rexy, this morning, go and turn it back.
Oluwaseun says, the bill to increase the local government areas in Lagos is going to pass if it is dependent on both national houses of the legislature. But if it requires the houses of assembly of all 36 states, then it is only going to pass if the other states also get their own increase in local government areas. Either way, this is going to open a can of worms. To be honest, it is long overdue for Lagos based on population alone, despite its small size. The bill to remove the immunity of the vice president, governors, and their deputies isn't going to pass. They're just playing. How many senators, House of Representative members, ex-governors, and their deputies have been convicted since 1999? A couple of ex-governors who were convicted were pardoned by the president. They should go and sleep, Joe. And Dimapuza from Surulere says, no need for Mr. President to search for a new INEC chairman. He should just go and wake up late Professor Humphrey Nwosu to take charge. Our elections would be fair and fairer if a person like Professor Humphrey Nwosu handles INEC. He's supposed to have been honored for conducting the most free and fair election in Nigeria, but unfortunately, he has been forgotten. May God bless his soul. All right, we'll take the last story for this morning, and this one is about data and statistics, and it's coming from the Punch. World Bank expresses concern over Nigeria's data and statistics quality. Gbubemi.
So they've expressed concerns about our statistical performance. I wasn't quite sure what that means, so I had to go and look it up. And that basically refers to how well national statistical systems collect, produce, and disseminate high-quality data, and how broadly and frequently that data is used. It matters because understanding statistical performance is crucial for informed decision-making, policy development, and monitoring progress towards development goals. So our statistical performance is typically judged by how well the data is used by stakeholders, the quality and accessibility of data services, the type and quality of statistical products available, availability and reliability of data sources, and the technical and institutional infrastructure supporting statistical systems. So what they have basically said is that they believe that Nigeria would need an investment of between $10 to $15 million annually to be able to improve our statistical system to raise performance and put us at par with countries like Mexico, Colombia, South Africa, and Brazil. The National Bureau of Statistics is charged with collating, disseminating all our statistical information as regards the nation. And by and large, for a long time, the data that had presented, was typically adjudged to be unbiased, fair, clean, clear, but there have been slight issues in the last few years with some of the approaches that they have used to determining some of the indices that they have put out, that may, for many reasons, amongst which may be, the quality of their data sources or how they collect the data, retain the data, transmit the data, analyze the data as well, present the data, things like that. Whether they are the extensiveness of their data collection and reporting and all of that, So yeah, there's always room for improvements, and I believe that this is something that we could end up looking at and working on if necessary.
Do you have anything to add to that, Mr. C, before we call it a morning today?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, thank you very much for your messages and thank you for your contribution this morning on Freshly Pressed. Tomorrow we'll go again for the final time this week. And the stream can be found on YouTube. You can go back to YouTube at Smooth 981 FM Lagos. I'll take a few messages, and this one from Oluwaseun says, even if we day Nigeria no say Nigeria no get correct data, we have no idea our population. There's no true record of births, deaths, school children and out of school children, etc. A serious country knows all of these. And back to it, I think your name is Yomi, but she said LCDAs are not led by elected officials. Nigerians, not foreigners, hold these positions nationwide. Is APC in control of all states? What have states governed by other parties contributed to Nigeria? The nation's progress depends on the performance of all states, not just Lagos. The expression on your face says it all, Mr. C. Do you want to say something or we go? All right, then. Thank you for being a part of the show this morning. And again, tomorrow we'll be back. 8:15 is the time for us to discuss on Grapevine and have a good time. And thank you, Gbubemi. Thank you, Mr. C.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
My name is Oluwaseun Olusegun, and you're listening to Smooth Breakfast on Smooth 98.1.
The headlines, the stories, the news.